Hello, good day. Hello, Instagram love, and all you who have names out there in the world. I'm coming to you for another studio diary, kind of a quick one today. I'm back. That was a little pause because I have a timer on my social media apps and it just went off, but I erased that so I can come here for you today to share my studio process and, as promised, to share my life process because, whoa, life is happening, right? Today is October 8th, so this is the second studio diary of season 2 of my studio logs, studio diaries. And I am in the midst of writing a grant proposal right now. You may have seen me writing about it already, and I am so inundated with trying to get that together. I've had less than 10 days to do it, and my art practice right now is kind of like all over the place, so I'm not doing a lot. I do have my sketchbook, and I'm going to share some sketchbook practice with you today as I talk about what it's like to write a grant proposal, because I haven't done this in a really long time. And I'm not completely sure if I've ever done it for myself. So it kind of feels like I'm applying for a job. You know, I'm applying for a grant to fund my project, Document Your Day, which is a call for you to document your day as we are in Corona time, moving kind of whatever relative to what's going on. But I have found for myself, this is a project that just spawned from my own need to realize I matter, like realize I'm here, realize that my work matters, even though I was and still am mostly isolated from people. And there's a lot of grief that has come from the huge shift in life and lifestyle, grief from loss in general. And I have found that documenting something, be it through a photograph or logging in a journal or writing a note in my phone, has brought me the sense of perspective. And we all need perspective right now. So I'm writing a grant so that this can happen, so that this work can really happen in the way that I envision it. It's going to happen no matter what. I've already put it out there in the world, but this grant is really going to support me being able to be more in community with you about it. And it's stressful. It's stressful to kind of believe in yourself so deeply, and this work so deeply, and then also know that maybe you won't receive the support, and sort of like letting it be out there and letting it go. So hello everybody who's joining. So I'm there, that's where I'm at. And I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera. Let's flip the script so you can see what I'm working on in my sketchbook. And it's a little contrasty. I think that's good. You can see that. So this is a sketchbook that I just got. And it's pretty heavy stock paper. And I just have been working on this one piece the past couple of days. And this is another sketch for a print I hope to make. But I'm gonna go ahead and start adding some watercolors down and show you a little bit of this process, and also talk about documenting your day and how I truly, truly believe in it. So I'm just adding some water down here on the paper. Ambiguous loss is a term that I learned about through Pauline Boss's work on ambiguous loss. So she coined the term. She's a theologian and professor, and I believe psychotherapist. I could be wrong about that. Okay, now I'm going to add some yellow down here onto the paper to kind of set the stage. So I'm working with a lighter hue. We talked about this last week in the studio diary. Instead of trying to add light in after you put darker color down, which can create a different effect. But for me, particularly with yellow, I like to see where it's gonna go so it doesn't bleed into like a blue color and then create a green, which could be what you're wanting, but for me, it's not right now. So ambiguous loss. Ambiguous loss. It's basically something she was studying with people who have lost somebody physically. And that's a bit heavy, but she's also discussing it as like a grief that comes from not having closure, right? And I feel that is really relative to right now. And she's actually gone ahead and written about that within this time period too, that we are experiencing a very big loss. She says in an interview with Krista Tippett on the podcast On Being, she talks about how it's grieving what's here and not here. And so a lot of us have just kind of like, I know at first we were in shock. We were in like a real nervous system overwhelm of kind of going into quarantine, as well as like being aware that people we know are dying, people we love are getting sick, people we read about are getting sick, and how to prevent us from doing that. And then on top of that, here's the thing. We also know that there's just a lot of division within what's going on. And so we have had to try to like manage that in our minds, right? And in ourselves. So it's it's a lot to go through, and then also experience as we are in our day-to-day life. And maybe, in my family, my husband lost about half of his work, but wasn't eligible for much help because he was still working. So we've had to really adapt our life and grieve that loss. He's a professional musician, so like he's in it, not being able to perform, which for a musician, that's kind of the point. I'm just gonna go ahead and oversimplify that, being a musician is relative to an audience. So so the grief of, I'm a mother, I have really relied heavily on being able to have my son interact with friends and people that he loves and knows, and to have that taken away from my life was hard. I know it was hard for him too. So we're in a space of ambiguous loss, ambiguous grief. Ambiguous meaning like it's not clear cut. There's no like clear ritual for the grief. And so that's why I want to do this work of documenting, because that's our ritual. That can be our beginning of coping with what is here and not here. Sorry, y'all. I just was getting a phone call, so I don't even know who that was. I'm getting so many random politically bent phone calls these days. It's a little much. Anyways, I don't know how much of that got documented, but I was saying that, processing ambiguous loss is documenting our lives is how we're going to be able to process ambiguous loss and process our grief right now. So if you want to learn more about this project, just keep following along with me on Instagram, because I'm going to be posting about it. But basically, it's a call for you to take a pause and observe your days and say, like, what made this stand out? What made my life be today? What made it something I want to remember, or what kind of stood out to me? And then within this, it's also an action of like documenting your work, right? So I've worked for a really long time on this with contemporary artists living today and educating on like the archival process of taking care of your work. And so it's a way to also document your body of work right now. So there's a lot of facets to this project at the moment. A lot going on. Okay, here's my sketchbook practice for today. So I'm gonna get to it, as they say. Do people say that? I know my son says that. And I go back to my computer and do some writing. Hi, Elizabeth. I will see you all soon. Thank you for joining. Thank you for participating in the Document Your Day project. If you have any thing that you want to share with me about either like thinking about that project, or if you actually want to share your documentation, hi Haley, please share it with me or tag me in a post if you do that. If you feel like you want to do it but you're not able to commit to every day, that's fine. This is not a perfection project. This is an everyday practice that maybe can help you process what's going on right now, which is a lot. And I'm here for you. Thanks for joining in, and I will see you soon. Stay in touch. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Until next week. Bye.